Hello and welcome. I'm Lisa Mitrokin and I'm here to share with you some of my art. And today I'm going to show you the inside of my favorite published book, Inkandescence 2021 Steampunk. So what are these books that I publish? I have like a dozen adult coloring books published and they're all quite different. But every year I participate in Inktober and it's all about drawing with pen and ink. When I create that collection of 31 drawings, I bundle them all up in a book and then I publish it. So this is the paperback version of that book. We will go through it together, page by page. They are colorable pages and they come with their little descriptions of where the story came from, and we'll go through that as well. But the other thing that I wanted to show you guys is the original art for this. So I brought my actual folder of original art, so I thought we could do maybe the pen and ink drawing side by side with the book drawing. So this is the published version, which actually also comes in a hardcover. This is my first hardcover book. I'm very excited about it. It came out beautifully as a hardcover. The paper is still the same quality, but the fact that it's a slightly different format and it's actually a hardcover is super exciting. But it's a little bit bulky and a little bit heavy, so I'm not going to use that as a flip through. I decided to do this one in steampunk style. So the entire book is in steampunk. I dedicate all of my books to my patrons, so every one of my patrons is listed by name. Of course, I always write a little bit about the book. The way that Inktober works is that every day you get a word prompt and you have to draw a picture based on that word prompt. So the first one was a crystal, and here in the book it says the character request is from Crystal Miller. The characters are her two adorable daughters growing out of a crystal cluster. So that tells you how this book is put together. People actually requested, I had sign-ups where people could actually purchase their page in the book before I even draw it, and then request what they want the picture to represent. So all of these are based on real people. The word was crystal, and this is for a lady named Crystal who has two beautiful daughters. And this is, of course, the published version of it. And this is the original. I still have all of the originals with my original doodles and scribbles on it, but this is all done with pen and ink on marker paper. I love this marker paper that has the smooth back so that nothing bleeds through. So I still have all of the originals for every single page in this book in a separate folder. Next up, we have Suit. Obviously, there's 31 of these because it's Inktober and it's by day. So for Suit, the character request came from a colorist named Liz Fields, and the character is actually someone that she dreamed up. It's an imaginary character of hers from her fiction stories, and she wears this very particular suit. And of course, I can't decide between PDF and hardback. Hardback is pretty tempting. I do love the hardback. I wouldn't actually color in this as much as I love it. Like, I keep my hardback as just a collectible art piece to be on my shelf. For coloring, I think PDF is better because you can print it on different kind of paper. You can print it lighter. I intentionally kept all of these drawings really dark because it's more of an art book than a coloring book, to be fair. So I would encourage you to get this in PDF just so that you can print it on gray paper or tan paper and like add white highlights and stuff like that, because it's a lot of fun to do it that way, and then get the hardcover more of a collectible item rather than an actual coloring item. The next day was Vessel, and this is one of my favorites. This is from character request from Linda Huxley, and this is Linda as herself as she travels the world with her pet crocodile. I like PDF. PDF is better than you can print out as many as you like. That's another excellent point. In PDF, you can have an unlimited number of copies of each page. So that's definitely a plus. In a book, you pay for a book and then that's it. You have that one page and you're like, oh, I don't want to ruin it. But as a PDF, you can print as many as you want. Everyone thinks that since it's such a fantasy piece and it's all like with her steampunk ship behind her, and of course she's wearing that crazy helmet, that the little crocodile is also dreamed up, but it's not. I drew this from a photo where she's actually holding a little baby crocodile. Can you do mystical next Inktober? I might. I'm actually deciding between mystical and gothic. So I haven't decided. I might do both. I can't decide. This was a lot of fun. Oh, I forgot to bring in the original for. So we had Crystal. I completely forgot that I was also going to present you with every single original one of these. So we had Crystal. Then we had Suit. I'll get both versions. Thank you. Then we had Suit. Then we had Vessel. We're not that far in. We're only 3 pages in, so you're not missing out on anything. Then we had Vessel. Vessel is one of my favorites. Up close on the actual pen and ink version, you can see the different kinds of ink in there. There's slightly different colors. And of course, you can see the variation in the gray ink that I use versus the black ink. Thank you for those likes, you guys. And then we have Knot. Knot is actually based on her husband. That was Knot, and that's, of course, about all the nautical knots and the same kind of knots in his beard and everything. So everything was super steampunk themed on this one, so I had to bring in like octopuses and these crazy hats and goggles. Everyone has goggles in this book. It's pretty cool. And of course, if you are interested in getting any of my books, I am Lisa Mitrokhin everywhere. That's my name on all of my publications. That's my name on Etsy. That's my name on Amazon. All of these books are printed in a printed version and also in a PDF version on Etsy. Raven was cool. This was requested by Jessica Elwert, and she is crazy about ravens. She loves everything raven. Hello, new people joining. Welcome. So she specifically requested that she be like a bayou witch with lots of animal skulls in her hair and on her neck, and that she has these crazy dreadlocks. So the face is actually her face. That's what she looks like. But the hair is new. She doesn't have hair like that. And of course, all the animal skulls. And in my version, in my vision of this raven, she's actually a shapeshifter. That's why her hand looks like that. It's like a raven claw. So she actually transforms into the raven when she wants. And again, for the new people who are coming in, I see many of you are lurking. These are the actual original pen and ink drawings of everything that is in my published book, Inkandescence. And out of all of the books that I have published, this is by far my absolute favorite. I am so happy with this book. I'm happy with how everything here came out. And I genuinely, I feel like I produced some of my best work during Inktober events because of the pressure, because of the amazing words, the prompt words that you wouldn't otherwise draw something like that. Like, of course, everyone loves ravens and everyone loves horses and whatnot, but usually it's really easy to get stuck in a routine and just continue drawing whatever it is that you're on a roll drawing, and you don't really come out of your comfort zone to draw something different. This one was Spirit, and the person who requested that I portray her horse Juliet as a free spirit. So she sent me a bunch of photography of her horse Juliet. There she is. And this one isn't so obviously steampunky. I tried to make it work with the rest of the book in the same spirit, in the same style, but it doesn't really have anything that's that obviously steampunky except for this filigree work over here. But I'm still really happy with it. And Juliet's owner, Juliet's mother, was also very pleased with it. So as long as the fans are happy, it's all good. Next word was fan. We're now on day 7 of Inktober 2021. And this is actually me. This is me and my husband, whom I call tech support on this show. Oh, I had someone say something. I'm missing on all the comments. I was thinking that you could do unusual mythological creatures. Creatures are interesting, but I don't get to choose the words. That's the problem. So this one is day 7 and it's fan. I don't get to, like, I don't know what the words might be. The words are a combination of nouns and adjectives and verbs, and I don't know if they like pull them out of a digital hat or whatever. I have no idea how they generate the 31 words, and I won't know them until 30 days before Inktober starts this year. So limiting myself to creatures is a little bit dangerous. It may not work out for everything. Here, I limited myself to a style. So that was cool because I had a general drawing style that's consistent throughout the whole project. And I put everything in a steampunk style. But that allowed me to bring in people. That allowed me to bring in, ships and vessels and creatures and all sorts of things. If I limit everything to creatures, I might shoot myself in the foot. But it is possible. There was a guy who did an entire Inktober, not last year, but the year before last, I think. He did the entire Inktober with cats. So every single page was a cat. It is definitely doable. It sounds like a really interesting challenge. It is. Inktober is a great event. And of course, it happens every year, and I'll be doing it this year's way as well. Hey, Lisa, love your artwork as always. You rock. Thank you. Thank you so much. Pure Energy Art, thank you for that comment, and thank you for those likes. I really appreciate you guys being here. That's the closest that I can do to sending you guys a heart back. Let me know if it gets annoying. So on this one, fan is actually a portrait of myself and my husband with all sorts of different fans. And we're a cute couple. I am very, very analog and he's very, very technical. So for our steampunk appearance, he has technology of the day. So all of his fans are mechanical, and me, all of my fans are traditional, like Victorian fans. So that's what I did for fan. And of course, all of these are my original doodles, while this is the print in the book. I am super happy with how the prints came out. I think comparing them to the actual original drawing, you can barely tell the difference. Like, there's nothing lost here. I did make the prints a little bit lighter than the drawing so that people can actually color them. But I didn't want to get them so light that you would lose the art factor of the book, because overall, this is an art book that just happens to be a colorable art book. Watch was commissioned by Sophie, and she told me a story. All of these were commissioned by real life people, except for a couple that there were a couple of words that weren't taken by anyone, so I took them myself. Like, this is a page of me. But Sophie is an actual person who commissioned this page, and she wanted like a collage of her frustration with getting distracted. She said that sometimes while she's working, she gets really distracted and she starts daydreaming and kind of spacing out while she's trying to work on her project. And she told me a true real life story of how this magpie comes into her window and like starts chirping and dancing and doing whatever magpies do, probably looking at all the shiny things and totally distracting her. So in this drawing, I have her concentrating, I have her losing concentration, and I have her, based on her photos, of course, with all the watches and the watch parts and the magpie trying to distract her. And of course, here is the original for that. As you can see in the book, they're also, are they a little bit smaller? Or they're like a hair smaller than the original, but very, very close, practically the same. It may be like 98% of the original. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's exactly the same size. It's hard to tell. Next up, we have day 9. Now, as these go on, as the days go on and the pressure of Inktober sinks in, these are starting to get more complicated as well. It's the craziest thing that happens every year. They get more and more complicated. You would think that I would start running out of steam and you would actually start with the more complicated pieces and then simplify them and simplify them. But no, you actually, like, at least I do, like, I get in this role and I get into this like creative state that's impossible to break or space out. And so I'm starting to add a lot more detail, and I'm starting to add a lot more stories into each one of these people who are commissioning their pages. So this one is from Misa, which actually Misa just published her own book recently. So her character is herself working under the pressure of being an author. She has published books, as well as the pressure of living on oxygen. The cat that appears here is her real life cat, and also the main character in her published book. So there are two characters here, herself and the cat. And there's just a lot of story here. This one took me a really long time. Obviously, I only have a day to produce them. So when I talk about a really long time, I'm talking about like 6 to 7 hours of work on just this page with pen and ink. And of course, these are the pens that I work with. All of these pieces are done freehand with these 3 pens, the light gray, the dark gray, and the black. Mostly with this one, actually. I run out of these the fastest. So much detail here, so much story. Of course, the reference to historically being a woman author through the years and how it progresses. She specifically requested that her oxygen tube ends in flowers. That was one request that she had. Usually people give me complete artistic freedom on these, but occasionally there are very specific requests, like she wanted her cat looking actually like her cat, to be recognizable, and to be in his Dracula suit, because in her book, he is like a Count Dracula cat. In fact, he is Count Dracula's cat, I think. Pick. So see how weird these words are? Like you have, so far, what did we have? We had crystal, we had suit, we had vessel, we had knot, we had raven. At least they're all nouns so far. Sometimes it gets weird. We had spirit, we had fan, we had watch. Yeah, all nouns so far. Pressure is a noun, but it's kind of an abstract concept. And now we have pick, and of course I couldn't resist. I had to do a pick, like a lock pick. I love lock picking as a hobby, and a cat burglar seemed like a really fun character for me to make. Some people don't give me any specifics. They just say, I want to be in a book. So, it's up to you to decide what I'm going to be. So in those cases, I usually run these ideas past them, and I'm like, well, I have this cat burglar character that I'm playing with. Would you like to be that? And she said yes. This is from Jane, and she agreed to be my cat burglar, which was a really, really fun page to draw. This is the only page that actually has white ink on it. I don't know if you can see it in the diamond, but usually I only work with gray and black. Or in here around the cat silhouette, also there's some white, and I think in her pearls. Of course, for the Batman geeks, the Batman fans, everyone will know what the string of pearls on Catwoman stands for. So that's a little Easter egg that I just had to put in there. Thank you so much for those likes, you guys. Keep them coming. And thank you so much for those gifts. They really help me keep my show going. So keep those coming. Now things are getting weird. Sour. Like, what do you do with that word? Obviously, lemons came to mind. I happen to have a fan in my community, Jenny, who really, really desperately and passionately hates sour lemons. So I didn't have any photos of her eating lemons to work from, but I did have photos of her. So I had to do a lot of creative manipulation here to figure out how. I love your artwork. Thank you. This one was fun because I turned all the little lemons into gears. Remember that I'm trying to keep this as a steampunk book, which was tricky with some of these words. So of course, everyone has goggles and everyone has freaky hats, but also I try to put a lot of machinery in there, and turning lemons into gears I thought was one of my moments of genius. So I had a lot of fun with that. Stuck. Oof. Stuck, I would have been totally stuck on, except that I have a fan who requested this page, who had a very specific vision for this very specific page. Character request from Stacy Bowling. Character Stacy as a cat tamer, realizing that taming cats is futile. She is, however, stuck with them. That's entirely her vision. Obviously, I portrayed it in my way. Cat tamer, I went for like a very old school poster, like a circus poster. So I went for that kind of a depiction. Of course, I had to keep my steampunk gears in there. But then I also thought it would be fun to have her taming all sorts of cats, not just regular cats, but big cats and house cats as well. Of course, I had to get a cat cleaning its junk in there because that's always hilarious. And she's trying to juggle these cats. Cat juggling is something that comes up surprisingly often in my art. I have an entire page called The Lost Art of Juggling Cats in one of my older published books. Lots and lots of cats here. Next up, we have, and thank you for all those likes, you guys. Roof was so easy, it was surprisingly difficult. Because Roof just opens up this huge world of stuff that you can do that you don't really know where to start. So for this one, I also had a very specific request. This is from Kim Shore. Are there any movie geeks with us in the audience today to tell me whose house that is in the background and whose roof that is? Mark's request was very specific. Well, Kim's request was very specific for the house and the Beetlejuice. That's right. Indigo. That is, you know the movie well. That's Beetlejuice's house. Well, that's the house featured in Beetlejuice. And this is their cat who is on the roof of the house. So, of course, there's a whole story there. But the other tricky thing about putting this book together is that while I was collecting all these stories from people and putting actual real life people into this book, real life characters into this book based on their requests, I had to also make it so that people who are not in this book care about it. So making these characters interesting enough for the audience who doesn't actually relate to these people personally was probably the most difficult thing to do. So like this page of cats, you don't need to know Stacy in real life to appreciate this page. It's just a fun page of a cat tamer. The same thing here, the girl with the lemons. Even if you don't know her in real life, it doesn't matter. It's a pretty adorable page with all of those little lemons that she's trying to consume. This is my dog Foxtail. Foxtail is very punctual. He loves his routine. He loves schedules. So I gave him lots of clocks, and we often refer to him as a clockwork dog because he is so insanely just put together and responsible, unlike my other dog. So lots of clocks for him. He has clocks all over in his hat and in his suit. He's himself made out of clocks. He is a clockwork dog. So he is my representation of Tick, and this is the original pen drawing. As you can see, there's a lot of tiny little work that goes into this. So like the clock in the background is done with a lighter pen and with a smaller tip so that I can get all of that shading detail in there. So it's technically not grayscale. It's more like an etching. Next up, we have helmet. Lots of nouns this time. There was another Inktober year where they had a lot of adjectives, and that was really difficult. For helmet, this is a very, very strange fantasy piece. This is a little girl who is the granddaughter of Cindy Baird, and she's just adorable. Cindy was kind enough to send me like 3,000 photos of this little girl who's just insanely cute and loves animals. And so it was difficult for me to narrow it down to specific animals, but for some reason I thought fishes in helmets would be really, really cute. So she has this giant helmet herself that she's going to grow into one day and be a superhero. But she's also surrounded by all these fishes, and like, sometimes there's no explanation for my art. It's like, what are these fishes doing there? Are they real? Is she underwater? Like, I don't actually know. It just seemed like a really cool thing to have her surrounded by all these goldfish in helmets. Very, very cute kid. So I wanted to do her justice and make her page as cute as possible as well. Compass. Now I was in heaven. I am working on a steampunk book. Of course, Compass fits right in, and I had the perfect candidate for this. The fan who purchased this page is Sam Twigger, my dear, dear friend from Australia, who is out on a walkabout. She's been out on a walkabout for over a year now with her partner and her dog. And she's just out there traveling Australia in a van. And this is her dog Max. He really looks like that. And Max is deaf. Max can't hear. So I gave him this steampunk noise enhancer, some kind of a weird steampunky earpiece so that he can hear. And then Sam also had a parrot who perished recently. He died like right before I made this drawing. So I made him into a mechanical parrot for her so that she can have him forever. They all took a long time. They all took from 4 to 6 hours, I would say, to draw in all of this detail. Some of them took even longer. Some of them took a lot of sketching ahead of time just to get the composition right. But the drawing itself was all like 3 to 6 hours with the ink pens. And on this one I went completely crazy with all the detail of like the old school drawing of the compass, which is absolutely accurate, by the way. So the compass is featured in the background. I had to put in the map of Australia in there. I put in an older map of Australia in there. And then, of course, a compass here. And she is also the cover of the book. So because that's my favorite page, but not the hardcover book. The hardcover book has a different cover. It has the emblem. This is always the emblem for my Inkandescence book, which Inkandescence is always the name of my Inktober project. So interesting hearing the story behind the art. Thank you. And this is always the symbol. The only thing that changes is the little symbol in the center. This is Incandescence Steampunk, so you have the gear. Next year, it's going to be something different, so there's going to be a new symbol in there. Probably it's going to be Gothic. I'm kind of in a Gothic mood this year, so mystical or Gothic, something fantasy for sure. Collide was a very specific request as well. I had just straight up a request to draw the rocket colliding with the moon from the old French film. So, of course, I gave it my own telescope to look through, and the moon is, like, the expression on the moon is the same as from the original old film, and the rocket is my imaginary rocket, and all of this set up the stairs going into nowhere. And, of course, I put in a little steampunk dude in there in his top hat and coat. So again, all of this is done with just these 3 pens, mostly this guy. But all the stuff that's lighter, all the stuff that's like lighter shading or things that are in the background, I do with this pen. Like these 3 together, I find can take care of all of your drawing needs. So I don't even use ballpoint pens or pencils anymore. I just work with those 3 pens on everything. And that's probably what I'm going to be doing this Inktober as well. Next one is Moon. It's really weird that actually it was Collide. It was the word collide that produced the moon image. You would think the moon would go with the word moon. Oh, thank you. Tech support requested this page. That's right. Moon is another moon image, but this one is a werewolf. This is Mark, and this is him as very specifically as a zombie werewolf. He really wanted me to make sure that there is a distinction, that he's not just a werewolf, that he's a zombie werewolf. So I never heard of a zombie werewolf. I was pretty confused as to how that would work, because werewolfiness comes and goes with the full moon. But if you're a zombie, you're like a zombie forever. What do you do if you're a zombie werewolf? Do you only get zombified when you become wolfy? Or are you just a zombie like 100% of the time and occasionally you become a wolf? I wasn't really sure. And so I put him through these transformation where he's already getting teeth, but he's always messed up in every stage of the way. So you can see his skin has like these pock marks in them. So he has these rotten zombie skin already. And then you can choose the order of the words. You cannot choose the order of the words. They actually go by day. So day 18 is moon. You don't get to choose the order of the words. And actually the way that original Inktober was done, Inktober has been going on for like 20 years, I think, or 15 years or something like that. And the original way the game was played is that you don't even get the list of words. Just on day 1, you're given a word like fish. Day 2, you're given a second word like fly. Day 3, you're getting a third word, and you have only that one day to draw, and you have to use pen and ink because it's Inktober. You have to use actual ink to draw, and then you just publish it with a hashtag, and then the whole world is playing. Now, because the project is so huge and people are getting so elaborate with their drawings like I am, you actually get a whole prompt list a month in advance. So I did have a month to collect the people who want to sign up for this book so they can purchase their places in the book, and also to start sketching some of these compositions, because to be able to do all of this in one day, it would be very difficult. I wouldn't be able to do anything at all. So I did have a little bit of a heads up on some of these, but not a lot, like a couple of days. Oh, Loop is day 19, and this is a memorial picture. This is a rest in peace picture for Ego Brain's dog. She had passed just recently, right before Inktober started, so we wanted to do a memorial remembrance picture for Ego Brain's dog, who had been with her entire life. So she didn't have many pictures of her as a puppy, so I had to improvise. I think she had pictures of her starting from like this age, but she had lots of photos of her showing me what she actually looked like throughout her life. The big portrait in the middle is what she looked like in her final days. She had a very long and happy life, and she lived to be a very old dog. So the portrait in the middle is her in her final days. And then here we have an entire loop with clock hands following. And of course, a steampunk clock worked into the background from puppyhood all the way through adulthood and into an older dog. But the loop continues, because in my mind, dogs never die. They stay with us forever and ever in our hearts. And also, I wanted this piece to remind people who do have dogs to never give up on dogs and never turn into this, oh, my dog died, I can never house another dog because you can never replace my beloved so-and-so. And no, you can't. The idea isn't to replace your beloved so-and-so. The idea is there's a dog somewhere out there who probably needs you, and you may be the perfect home for that dog. So don't turn your back on a new dog. Start a new cycle immediately, or as soon as you're ready, get a new puppy and just keep the cycle going. No, it's not going to be the same dog. It's going to be a new dog. It's going to be a new adventure, but that dog deserves an excellent home, and you may be the perfect home for that dog. Lots of passion in this one, lots of philosophy. So some of these get pretty heavy and intense, while others are very lighthearted. Hello, new people who are joining. Welcome. Please don't forget to follow me and hit that like button, hit that heart button to tell me that you like what you're seeing. Next word is sprout. This is my dear friend Cassandra. Cassandra lives in Australia. I have a surprising number of friends in Australia, even though I've never been there. Cassandra was taking drawing lessons with me at the time, so I wanted to portray her. She was doing really well too. She was just like growing like a weed. So I have her hand drawing herself as she's sprouting as an artist. So another one with a little bit of depth in there. Fuzzy. Needless to say, Fuzzy was a pet. So for Fuzzy, I have Bridget Flores Prince, who requested that I portray her little black cat. She has the most adorable little black cat, but she's also very much into magic and witchcraft. So I portray her as like this forest witch, and she's trying to cast a spell onto her mechanical cat to turn him into a fuzzy cat. Again, a very, very elaborate story that came out of just talking with the people and finding out what's important to them and what they really want me to portray in this book. Again, on this one, you can see all the different ink. And like if you bring it up close, you can see every single hash mark on here with my fine liners. I love working with fine liners. And in the printed version, it's just a hair lighter, not crazy lighter, but a hair lighter. But again, all of the work is done mostly with gray, like light gray and dark gray. I bring in black rarely. Like here I have black on the kitty, but that's it. The rest of it is gray. So it's technically already grayscale. So this one I really like a lot. But again, I'm struggling with, how do I make this relatable to the entire audience, not just to the person who commissioned it. And I think it came out really well because it's just like this universal witchy character. It doesn't have to be anyone that you know. Open is requested by Angie's Pantry. Thank you for those likes, you guys. Angie has her own YouTube channel, Angie's Pantry. You guys can look her up. She has an amazing cooking channel on YouTube, and she belongs to my art club. So she had me use the word open to depict some of her episodes where she does canning. She's very much into canning, so she's opening a jar of something here. And we also wanted it to be a tribute to her puppies who have passed. So I turned them into these little angels who are quite nosy, and they're still with her in the kitchen, still trying to get their snouts into the jars and figure out what it is that she's cooking, so that next time that she is cooking, that she is doing a show, that she has her little angels with her, and they keep her happy. But here also, like the word open, everything, the whole story is about her opening the jar and the pups looking at the jar. And I went crazy with all this stuff in the background. Like I spent more time doing all of these jars in the background with all this stuff in the bottles, and again a steampunk clock, because remember, this has to be steampunk. So I had to take the time to work in all of the little clockworks. That's the thing with steampunk, though. I chose steampunk. It didn't have to be. Inktober doesn't tell you what style to draw in. You just have to draw every day. But choosing steampunk, oh my god, never doing gears again. Gears take forever to draw, and they're really difficult to freehand because they're so symmetrical and they include so many circles. This is Leek, and Leek was a specific request. This is from Indigo. Is Indigo with us? I think Indigo is in the live chat with us. Indigo grumbles. There you are. Request from Indigo. This is Indigo's sister as the captain of a slightly leaky airship. And there she is, Cheryl Ann. That's right, that is Cheryl. And she, this is another page where people were like, oh, her costume is amazing. You have such an incredible imagination. But I actually drew that directly from the photo. This is how cool this person is in real life. She actually has photos of her constantly at these events in these amazing costumes. So it wasn't very difficult to dream this up, but I did give her an airship. And it is leaky. And of course, again, I have my very weird airfish that are often present in my art. We had the little girl with in helmet. We had the little adorable girl with all the fishes around her. Where was that? There it was, helmet. So again, fishes floating in the air for no apparent reason. Although here we also have water. So the ship might have just pulled up from water, or it might just be filled with water. We don't know. But it is a fantasy book, so fantasy characters it is. Next up, the word was extinct, and that was a no-brainer. Of course, we have dinosaurs. So this dinosaur had to be steampunk, so he is mechanical. He's a fully mechanical dinosaur, which was a pain in the butt to draw. I regretted it almost immediately. If I had a week to draw him, sure, but I had 1 day to draw him in pen and ink, and this is what I came up with. That's another thing about Inktober. You realize just how much you would have elaborated on this image if you had more time. I like extinct, very clever. Thank you. He's a very, very dapper dinosaur. this is from Stella, and this is literally called Dapper Dinosaur. And the quote here from Stella is, "Good fashion may be extinct, but good manners should never be." I thought that was very cool. So my little Dapper Dinosaur has very good manners. He is indeed a gentle dinosaur. But yeah, definitely not doing steampunk again this year. Splat. This is my dog Shelby. Both of my dogs are featured in this book. The other dog that was featured here, for the new people who are coming in, I'm going to do quick flip backs as we're flipping through this book. The other dog featured in here that is my dog is Foxtail, and he is my clockwork dog. So for you guys to see them side by side, while Foxtail is very, very dapper, very organized, very punctual, and very much into rituals and all things orderly, Shelby is the exact opposite. She is the nutcase in the family. She's insanely cute, but she's constantly getting in trouble. She's always hovering somewhere. Like, this dog can jump so high, she practically hovers. And if there's a puddle anywhere even remotely near the neighborhood that we're in, she will find it. So she is traveling on this airship, and she manages to land only in puddles, and she's very happy about it. So that's my page for Splat, and that's my little puppy dog right there. And this is now day 25. Day 25 is Splat. At this point in time of the Inktober ritual, I'm starting to kind of getting close to burnout, getting close to just losing my mind, and not really sure if I can keep up the whole thing, if I can keep producing one of these full page illustrations on daily basis. Well, welcome new people, welcome for joining. Thank you for joining. This one was requested by Nikki Armstrong. Nikki might be with us in the stream as well, I'm not sure. This is her and her boyfriend Todd. They met online. They met in a gaming community. So I wanted this to be a romantic piece with both of them depicted. She didn't have a lot of pictures of either of them, so I had to work with what I had, which is why they're facing really weird directions. But they like different kinds of games. They also share a game that they like. They love Minecraft quite a bit, but I tried to make it a combination of like the steampunky world with this old world telephone, like an actual rotary phone. I had a lot of fun with this rotary phone. I love all sorts of shiny reflective surfaces. And then his and hers controllers, with his being an imaginary steampunk controller and hers just being all pixelated 8-bit. But they love 8-bit games, and his character in the game was always a wolf and hers was always a kitten. So here they are as 8-bit. Drawing 8-bit with ink pens with these is an interesting, let me say, experience. Interesting. Again, if I had more time to draw it, great, but trying to do this in one day in this level of detail is a little bit daunting. I learned a lot about 8-bit and about how to freehand it without a ruler is a major pain in the butt. Bark! Thank you guys! I see all the likes and the hearts. Bark was commissioned by my friend Jessica Elward, and she gave me complete freedom on this one. So she asked that I draw tech support, my husband, we call him tech support, as a mad scientist. I often describe him to people as a mad scientist, and here he is as a very, very steampunky mad scientist. There he is. That's what he actually looks like. He does make that face quite often. But I gave him this insane helmet, and I had a lot of fun with it. But I also had to have him like conjure this electricity in the lab. So there's a lot of steampunky machinery here, all of which is just made up on the spot. It's all fake imaginary technology. And this was Spark, with tech support in his dungeon being all mad scientist conjuring something electrical, and the next word happened to be crispy. So I couldn't resist. I fried myself. This is me not being so good in the lab, trying the same experiment and failing miserably, resulting in my personal electrocution. So that's my little cameo in the book. I don't look like myself, but it is me. And this is the ink version of it. This is one of the few pages where I actually used black ink and not just gray. I love drawing skeletons and bones in general, so this was a lot of fun for me. And this kind of like an old school comic book style is also something that's very near and dear to my heart. So this was a page that I really enjoyed, but damn it, this used up a lot of black ink. This cost me. Hello, Matt, welcome. Patch is our next word, and this is another one that took forever. This was a very specific request from a client. This is from Catherine Potter, and these are her children. She wanted me to put their faces in a quilt. So this is one of the few pages where it was difficult for me to make it work as a universal page for everyone to enjoy, because it actually has people's faces in it for no reason other than to feature them as her family members. But I thought it would still make a cool coloring page for people to practice skin tone coloring, and also for just this size, this sheer crazy size of the quilt that's hanging on the wall. And I put in this very old-time steampunk bed in there. This also took forever, but I really enjoyed it. I can lose myself for hours just doing all this little cross-hatching work. Slither, looks like we're coming to the end of the book. We only have a few days left. Slither is day 30, I believe, and of course there are only 31 days because this is Inktober. And Slither, does anyone know this little guy named Slither? I didn't know about him until this client told me about it. The client is Gail Mowry, and the character is Slither, who's a worm, and Twitch, who's a dog, and how Twitch sees Slither. So apparently Slither is like a famous game character, and it's a character that she likes. And she also has this dog who's this giant poodle, I think, and imagining him, like, he's huge and he looks like he should be brave, but he's not. So he sees this tiny little worm, and that's what he sees in his mind. He sees this. So needless to say, I had an amazing time with the mechanical dragon here with my gray pen. Didn't go super crazy on the detail, except for around his face. And of course he has all these blades for scales, and just some imaginary weird machinery there. Had a lot of fun just curling him up like that. I love mechanical dragons, apparently. Mechanical dragons and mechanical dinosaurs. And finally, day 31, the word is risk, and we're back to video games. Christopher is here as himself, and he's playing a game of Risk with Alien and Predator. These are his two favorite characters in his two favorite movies, so he's actually playing a game of Risk. And his little action figures here are Alien and Predator, and he happens to have a predator standing behind him, kind of looming over him. We don't know if he's real and he's about to eat him, or if it's just his imagination running wild and that's what's happening in his head. We don't know. But once again, my gray marker comes in to the rescue so that I can do that background and trail it off into this kind of a fantasy world in the back. In the book, that's the end of the actual physical collection, but the book continues with a photo album. So if you get this book in the paper version, I'm not actually sure about the hardcover. I think the hardcover has it as well. But in the paper, we'll look at it in a second. In the paper version, we also have a photo album of the pages the way that they are. They're not grayscaled, they're not cleaned up, but they're actually photos that I took throughout the journey. So every single day I took a photo and I posted it on social media with a hashtag for Inktober, and these are the photos that are out there in the world. So at the end of the book, you have this little flip through of of the work the way that it appears in real life without being scanned or grayscaled for coloring purposes, but the actual art in its full saturation, in its full darkness. So I'm just going to flip through these very quickly for those who are just joining. Perhaps you didn't see the beginning of the book, but these are the pages that we were looking at up close in the book, as well as my original drawings of it. So thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to wrap this up in just a couple of minutes. Thank you for all the gifts and the hearts. They make my show go. Joined. Welcome. Thank you. PDF also, yes, this book is also available in PDF. This is me. If you want any of my books, if you want to research me, that's my name. That's how I am on Amazon. That's how I am on YouTube. That's how I am on Etsy. All of these books are available in PDF as well. But this is the soft cover version that is colorable. You can you can actually color inside this book. And this is my first book that is also available in hardcover, and I'm super stoked about it. I've never published a book in hardcover before. Proof of hardcover. It has a different cover but the same name, and this is the logo for all of my Inkandescence series. So let's see, the paper here is actually nicer in the hardcover. I'm not going to go through every single one page by page. I just want to see if it's actually the same thing. Yeah, you also get in the hardcover, you also get the photo library in the back, and all of the pages. So that's me, that's my art, that's my book. Check it out. I hope you followed my channel so that we can do this again. Join my private art club, connect with me. Let me know what else you would like to see. I have like a dozen published books. We can go through books, we can go through my original art. We can do whatever you guys want. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you again for all the love, all the hearts. I love you guys too, and I'll see you soon.